Hi, my lovey McLovelies. Justice here. I'm gonna just come into this space with you. Just drop your shoulders. Let your belly soften. Feel your sits bones in the chair. Connect with your body with this moment. Breathe. As you pop in, please. Yeah, say hi. Hi, William. Hey. So, hi, lovely. I have had I've had this notion of climate crisis on my mind today, and I've posted something about it earlier in my news feed. And to share with you the term solastalgia, if you're not familiar with that, is super relevant to what's going on. It's gotten to the level where there are enough people who are so deeply affected by what's happening with the planet, they had to coin a term for the specific anxiety and grief that goes along with that awareness, and that is solastalgia. So I want to begin this conversation by first acknowledging that our planet is a living being. She has consciousness. I'll call her after the sort of the Gaian element, because to me she is the feminine principle condensed into material form. And of course there's the masculine principle as well, which is all around us. They're both. These masculine feminine energies are all around us. But I will refer to the planet as a she, because she is our mother. She gives birth to us over and over again with her body. She feeds us with her body, just like any mother does. And we're in relationship with her. We don't live on her, we live with her. And you have to know, anybody, like, say hey, anybody who's ever lived with anybody else. Yeah, anybody who's ever lived with anybody? I mean, like, I don't think we just manifested it into existence, right? We've all lived with somebody. So you cannot tell me that living with someone doesn't affect your well-being. It absolutely does. If you live with someone who's skilled and resourceful and is kind and caring and attentive, like, you feel better being in that energy, you naturally. And the same thing is with her. We as a species have perpetuated this cycle of violence and trauma, largely against ourselves, but she's a part of that as well. These wars go on within her body. And the sad thing is that the recurrent cumulative trauma that we've collected as a species, for the most part, we're not processing it. For the most part, we as a species, as a collective, have this massive amount of trauma that has never been tended to, that's never been addressed. We go on war, genocide, like this violation after violation to ourselves and then to her as well, without ever addressing it, and expect that we can just continue on same day different business as if we're not being impacted by this. And we are constantly. We're still, as people, we're still feeling the effects of the Great Depression and of World War I and World War II. And that doesn't even count the wars that have happened ever since. The way that we treat our veterans is atrocious. Like, it's okay to send people off to be traumatized and violated, but the notion of taking care of them is so foreign to the powers that be, that we just, it's completely unaddressed. And that's just the people that's the veterans, right? Us as individuals on the ground, we feel the effects of that as well. We live with these people who come home traumatized. And every single one of us on this planet has either experienced direct trauma, either through neglect, through, these to greater and lesser degrees violent forms of socialization that we all endure, has experienced some kind of sexual or physical, mental, emotional trauma. We're all dealing with trauma. And if by some miracle you have been sheltered enough, you have been loved and cared for enough to where you have not experienced personal trauma, say from your family of origin being brought up, that's wonderful for you. But I guarantee you that somewhere in your family lineage, somebody has, and that the effects of that trauma have effects in your physical body and your behavioral patterns, and in what's known as epigenetic mutations. So trauma actually mutates not only your body and your behaviors, but it mutates the epigenome, which is the mutable part of your genetic code. So we're all dealing with this, and when trauma is not addressed, when we're not allowed, encouraged, supported to grieve our trauma, to grieve what's been lost, it accumulates and it becomes neuroses. So your unexpressed, untended grief will eventually turn into some form of neurotic behavior. And you see these people, particularly these people who are in, these these positions of power where they actually have, they have the money and the position to make an impact on whether or not, this habitual regurgitation of trauma, and whether these sustainable practices or unsustainable practices will continue or not. They don't make that choice. So you have to assume that there's something really disembodied and neurotic about them. And the same could be said for all of us, because here I am speaking to you through my phone, not face to face, because this is the majority of how our interactions take place in this day and age. We're constantly texting, we're constantly messaging. We may have relationships with each other still, but we also have relationships with these devices. And that's wonderful. It's a bridge. It lets me reach you, in different states, different countries. Like, nobody here watching this broadcast right now is from my hometown that I see. Not a single one of you. So I'm able, because of these devices, to connect and communicate with you around the world, which is wonderful. But there's also a cost to that as well. So every single one of us has trauma. Every single one of us. And the level of mental health and the diagnosable neuroses in this country in particular is at an absolutely all-time high. And instead of acknowledging that this is a symptomology of a larger, more dysfunctional system, people are being medicated out of their crises instead of finding their healing crises as pathways into their trauma, into these deeper places within themselves that need to be addressed, that need to be cared for. And so the more that we can ignore what is going on in our own body, psyche, soul, soma, the more we can also ignore what's going on in the earth, because we can detach from our physical body, and we can detach from the physical earth, and we can pretend that the relationships that we engage in, the food that we engage in, the way that we engage in our environment is not having an impact on our health. Just like we can sort of disengage from the body of the earth, and we can pretend that our unhealthy, unsustainable business practices and personal habits don't have an impact on her, and that the way that we isolate and that we live in cities, we don't connect and commune with nature, like that doesn't have an impact on our relationship with her as part of her body, not just living on her, but as a part of her body, as a manifestation of her desire to love and feel and create. That's us. That's who we are. And that's what we, in a healthy state, that's what we naturally manifest. We manifest a desire to love and to heal and to create and to contribute, and to care for ourselves in the earth. So when we're disconnected from that, we are essentially in a state of dissociation. When we find ourselves running these habitual stories, these habits, these numbing behaviors, whatever it is that we do not to feel our pain, that is us attempting to dissociate from our state of trauma. So if you're not if you're not feeling angry, you're not feeling anxious, you're not feeling depressed right now, then you're essentially, you're in a state of denial, which is actually the first state of grief. So if you're still living in a state of denial that you're not, that something isn't wrong, that there isn't something wrong, then I'm going to invite you just to pause right now, connect in with your breath, connect in with your body, and allow yourself to be really present to this moment and just truly feel. And maybe at first you freeze your breath. That is actually the first way that we create a trance, that we change our state of existence, is by changing our breathing pattern. So notice, like, if when I invited you to stop and breathe, if you're like, you're already in a trance. You've already disassociated. So let yourself come back and just breathe easily and organically. And as you let yourself move into and give into that process, notice you can't breathe in without taking her into you. You can't breathe out without letting her go out of you. So right there, the bridge between world and spirit and you, this moment has converged. And in this moment where that convergence is occurring, there is grace possible. But grace is also dependent on your presence, on your willingness to be with what is in you and with what is all around you. Grace is not some spiritual positivity bypass state. Grace is the full embodied engagement with spirit through our human experience. And that's how she moves. So, yeah, feel that. So the other meeting place where we meet with her consciousness is in the state of accountability. The more we are willing to step into the state of accountability and be accountable for our feelings, our experiences, what we're putting out into the world, the energy, simply the energy. Start with this, the energy that you're carrying right now. Get really honest about what that is, how that feels, how you're giving that back to the world. That is a gift, and that is part of the interdependent relationship that we have with all other beings, including other humans, including the animals and nature herself. So what are you contributing? If you are living largely distracted, numbed out, in a state of neuroses, or in a state of avoidance of your neuroses, then what you're going to be contributing is going to be largely disorganized, and it's not going to have a very cohesive feeling, and that is going to lead you even more so to feeling disempowered and helpless. So the more cohesive you become right now in this moment, and that is simply your willingness to be accountable for the energy that you're bringing right now, the energy I'm bringing to this conversation, I'm going to be wholly accountable for that, okay? Breathe in, feel the sensations in my body, feel the energy that I'm emitting. Feel the choices and the actions and how I'm going to relate to other people based on the state that I'm cultivating, which is going to be more cohesive the more aware I am of these different aspects of myself and what these different aspects need. And that is basically the tenet of tending to trauma, is acknowledging that every single one of us has experienced some state of trauma, some state of disassociation, some sort of fragmentation, adaptation around that fragmentation, and that all of the things that we do to keep ourselves so goddamn busy are ways of avoiding that pain. Yeah, that's it. So if you're willing to be accountable and present with your pain, then you're also willing to be accountable and present with your joy, and for all the parts of you that naturally and organically want to contribute back to life. And that's a beautiful thing, because the personal accountability leads to a better relational accountability, how you interact with and how you treat other humans. and all other living beings as well. Whether that leads you to, a lot more conscientious choices in what you put into your body, the materials that you choose, to get your clothes from, the sources where you go to shop to get your needs met. All of that becomes a part of this conscionable action when you're taking accountability for your energy, and what you're giving to the world is also what you're going to take back, what you need, how you get your needs met. So healing crisis, or even a planetary climate crisis, it is the symptomology of pointing us into these deeper wounds that need tending, that need us to show up with love and accountability, so that we can create a space through us being willing to be that portal for grace to move through us, because that's how it happens. And it really doesn't have to be these big things that you do. You don't have to go out and become a social activist. You don't have to go out and become like a hardcore, like in your face environmentalist. That's actually pushing more aggression on the situation, which probably in the long run isn't going to be helpful, because when you come at people with this aggressive standpoint, they tend to either recoil or they tend to shut down. They don't want to be told that everything that they're doing is wrong, but they might be willing to accept, a modeled example of what right living actually looks and feels like. And if you're just pushing the ideas and the agenda, then you're not really in right living. You're not really in right alignment either. It's a vibrational state that we carry, just like the earth has her own vibrational state. What's it called? The Schumann frequency is the vibrational frequency of the earth. And her weather patterns are it's like her emotional system and seismic activity. It's all connected. And because we are in dynamic relationship with her, these systems are also connected to our emotions and activities as a collective. Now, this might sound a little washy woo-woo for you, so let me break this down so it's actually a little bit more digestible and practical. If you have a traumatized, disassociated, aggressive, angry, say, narcissistic spectrum world leader who is in denial of the benevolence of the mother in his own life, how do you expect that attitude and those wounds are going to shape his political policies? I don't know. You might see a complete disbanding of the EPA and an absolute destruction of all the protective measures that have been put in place since the 1970s, for example. You might see rampant deforestation, and I'm not talking about the natural cycle that, the Amazon goes through with fires. This is something that jungles and forests do. I'm talking about something that a friend I met at the market recently, who actually has business connections, sustainable business connections with the people of the Amazon. What he told me is the fires aren't the problem. That what's the problem is the illegal gold mining. What's the problem is the illegal lumber mining. That's what's destroying that's what's really creating deforestation and destabilizing the natives there. So you have to feel into what you personally tend to do when you're disassociated and ungrounded, when you're not feeling connected to the earth, and imagine that those behaviors at not the micro level where you're just doing your own little thing in your isolated home and hanging out and watching Netflix and not really engaging and feeling afraid of people and too overwhelmed by the state of the world to do anything useful for yourself. Okay, there's that. And that is an actual trauma response. That's kind of living in a state of shock. You're sort of just barely surviving instead of thriving, right? So imagine that. That's you. That's how you're living. And there isn't a whole lot of accountability in that because you're just kind of getting by. And I get it. I totally get it. And I'm not judging or shaming you if you're in that state. I'm just offering you some love and encouragement and a reason to bring yourself out of it, because the world needs you. So imagine you're doing that. Only now imagine everybody on your block is doing that. And now everybody in your town is doing that. And now everybody in your county is doing that. And everybody in the state is doing that. Now everybody across the whole country is doing that. Now, we're not designed to live that way. We're not designed to live in a state of isolation. We're not designed to not communicate, not to touch, not to touch and hold and snuggle and cuddle and love other beings. We're physically not designed for that. We need touch, we need communication, we need face-to-face. So imagine this whole country is living in this way that you live when you're not feeling when you're not feeling on your game. And it's not far off of imagination. So what do you tend to do when you're in that state? You tend to want to kind of eat comfort food. You tend to want to kind of numb out. You tend to want to kind of, we want to keep to yourself. You want to sort of drown out the drama and distress of the world, right? And I get that it's a survival thing. And you have to feel into yourself and understand that this is how a child deals with trauma when they don't have another option. They dissociate. So if you are in a situation where you can't do anything, you tend to dissociate. But what you need to understand now is you're not a child anymore. And whereas the problems of the world might seem overwhelming, you can take it upon yourself to address your own personal problems and your own personal trauma. And that is your responsibility as an adult and as a contributing, caring, conscious, creative human being. Your creativity and ability to contribute back to the world starts with your personal responsibility for what's going on inside of you and how what's inside of you causes you to causes you to interact with other beings. And that is a direct chain of events. Okay? So now imagine this with me instead. You're bored with Netflix. It's not stimulating you like the way it used to. So you turn off your TV, yeah? And you take a deep breath and you're sitting on your couch and everything's shut up and your air conditioner's on and you suddenly realize you haven't actually breathed any real air in several hours. So you're going to connect with your body, you're going to get up, you're going to walk out that door, and even if you're in the middle of the city, there's still nature, there's air. It may not be as fresh as if you lived in the country or even where I live, God bless this place, but you're going to walk out your door and you're going to realize, okay, there is a world outside of here, and you're going to suddenly now you're going to begin to feel your relationship to it. And you're going to hear, like you hear right now, this jet going overhead, and you're going to hear all of these ways that we interact in these, less than organic and these kind of artificial ways with the world around us. And you're going to notice, you're going to see people with their faces in their phones. And I'm guilty of this. I'm on my fucking phone all the damn time. and I try. I put it down for long periods of time and step away. But you're going to see it. And as you watch and as you observe, you are going to become more uncomfortable by the moment. That's what's going to happen first and foremost. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel depressed. And I'm going to ask you, please, from the bottom of my heart, don't skip this phase. You need to feel these feelings. This is the start of the healing journey, is moving through the discomfort to get back into your core essence, because your discomfort is a reflection of the whole entire collective discomfort, is a reflection of how that collective discomfort is impacting the earth, how the earth's what she's experienced of our non-sustainable practices, the mineral depletion, the toxicity in the water and in the air, how her ability to support us is affected by the fact that we're so fucking abusive to her. And I'm not talking about you personally. And in order to deal with and address abuse in a grander scheme, you have to deal with and address abuse and trauma in yourself. And that includes confronting your inner critic and not letting them run your life. That includes, looking at your own childhood adaptations and how you're still functioning as if you're a 5-year-old child in the world, because that's not going to cut it. there are definitely elements and aspects of that childhood innocence that can be brought forward, that can be really wholesome and really healing. But if we're going to all continue to run around like little wounded children in adult suits and talk about how hard adulting is, we're not going to make it as a species. Like, seriously. Seriously. We have a mama, and she's the earth body. We have resources. There are healers. There are truly embodied, grounded, practical, ethical, skilled healers who can help you sort through your stuff so that you can be a more effective source of change and you can move through the world with more power. And I'm one of them. And if you resonate with me, like, hit me up. I will walk through your shit with you and get you back to your core innocence and figure out what your creative gift is and how you can contribute. I absolutely will. That's one of the things I do. And if it's not me, if it's somebody else for you, then bless you and bless them. I want to see this comment, because if I'm going to do this, I want to be interactive. Seymour, yes please, Seymour, see it all. Ah, damn it. It isn't grounded logical expressions of deep spiritual concepts. Awesome. Yeah. I can't do leaders who aren't in alignment enough with their own wisdom that they can't speak about it in solid earth life reality terms. Thanks, Justice. You are welcome, Marianne. My absolute blessed pleasure. Yeah, the spiritual materialism is founded in a disassociation and disembodiment as well. Yes, we need money. We need to learn how to manifest, but that manifestation means that we're working in grounded, realistic terms with the material that is already inside of us and all around us. So there is no such thing as just creating something from scratch. There's already like so much here that we need to work with, both in here and out here. And creating both internal sustainable practices, which looks like stepping out of numbness and addiction. Yeah, there you go. You want to live a more sustainable life? Consider this. Are your habits for avoiding pain sustainable? No, I guarantee you they're not, because they're founded in this cycle of getting high and dropping down and never living in the middle ground where you're actually meeting yourself and befriending yourself moment to moment. That is literally exactly what addiction is. It is avoiding the present moment and looking to disassociate in one way, dealing with the repercussions in another way, and continuing to not befriend yourself, but to put that relationship onto some other activity or some other substance. And that is what we are doing largely as a society. And it's not sustainable. So it leads to all of these other non-sustainable practices, because what we haven't built the sustainable internal to external relationship within ourselves. Blah. There you go. Sit with that for a second. So living in a sustainable way, communing, meeting this grace point that's arising now in this moment, it is absolutely 100% all about it's about building resilience within yourself. It's about creating sustainable practices with your internal to external expression. It's about caring for yourself and others in your life and your world in a meaningful way. And let's start simple. Let's just do simple stuff. It's like, get up and show your environment some love, do your dishes, make your bed, get up and show your body some love, breathe, stretch. If you don't have time for a full yoga set, who cares? Just show your body that you love it and you want to be present with it. You walk out the door, you're going to be a better human. I guarantee you. The better you take care of yourself is actually going to give you the energy to contribute back more to life. And that's what she needs. It's like, we have to learn to love the fertilizer as much as we love the blooms, because it's the fertilizer that gets things to grow. So if you don't want to deal with the shit in your life and use it as fertilizer, then you're not going to have a very healthy, thriving garden, because those blooms, that fruit, those veggies, whatever it is you're trying to plant and grow, it needs you to also acknowledge the fertilizer that helps it to get that way. So, Let me see. Hi. Hey guys, love you're introducing me to each other on this feed. Thank you. Yes, as long as we don't abuse her. Yeah, I mean, as we're practicing these abusive practices with ourselves, it leaks out onto our external world. And that is one of the things that, like, people don't understand about dealing with trauma, about having been abused. It's like we walk around with all of this shame. We think it's something that we've done to deserve or whatever, and a lot of the spiritual talk is like it turns it back around on you. It's like, what happens if you keep attracting predators in your life? Well, it turns it back around on you. Well, what are you doing to attract this? What's wrong with you that you're attracting this? Well, nothing. People are assholes with assholey internal worlds sometimes, and then that internal asshole world like leaks out onto us, and then we're left cleaning up their shit. Fact of life. But the more resilience you build inside yourself, the more willingness you are to protect yourself, your innocence, to care for it, to care for yourself and your life and your inherent goodness, and to let that come out into the world, the less you will find yourself entangling with those kinds of people, because your vibration, you will be shifting the state of engagement, not attraction. You will notice that energy coming, and you will not want to engage in it. And so the it's the same thing from this personal level to this transpersonal level to this collective level. The more you do right now, in this moment and in the moments to come after you get off this live with me, to genuinely deeply love and care for yourself and meet everything inside of yourself with an attitude of curiosity first. Be curious. Oh, hey, that's really uncomfortable. Wow, what is that? What's that feel like? Ooh, I don't like discomfort. Okay, I'm just going to be curious about it. And that curiosity creates space. And once you've got space around something, it doesn't feel like it's suffocating you. And it's like, okay, now what needs to happen with this? And you just become curious. What does this want to do? What does the sensation want to do? Do I want to cry? Do I want to laugh? I mean, we're so numbed out, we don't even know like the flow of our own emotions anymore, a lot of us. I literally have to work with people when they come to me in practice to help them figure out what they're feeling, because they don't know. And a lot of this whole positivity, stick your head in the sand, like, if I don't focus on it, it'll be okay, and oh, the earth is just doing what she does. Like, yes, just like in any relationship, she's going through her own cycle. But even when we in relationship go through our own cycles, we can either experience support from our partners and our friends and our lovers, or we can experience them making our life more difficult. So if she's going through this cycle, does that mean that we should be trying to make her life more difficult? If it's natural for, say, the poles to be flipping and for us to be entering into a different kind of an era, like, yeah, that is one of the things she does. That's a natural process. But is us, like, with our unsustainable habits, like logging and like, all this destruction and all this abuse and distortion, is that going to make her transition easier? No. And you know what else? It's not going to make the transition any easier for us either, in the long or in the short run of it. So if we hold the intention as we go through our own healing process that it is of benefit to us and all other living beings, that me becoming more coherent, you becoming more coherent, more kind, more creative, more focused, more alive, more feeling, actually gives back to the life force and allows you to receive even more, to live in a state of reciprocity and interdependence with the life force, then I promise you, every single step that you take in accountability for your own energy, your own actions, on your own healing path, towards bringing your creativity to fruition, will be met by the unseen forces and by the forces of nature herself, because that is the nature of her relationship with us. It is reciprocal, as you remember every single time you come back to your breath. So breathe in with me, loves. Breathe in love and acceptance and patience and courage. and breathe out. Breathe out the fear, breathe out the anxiety, breathe out your concerns, the helplessness, the not being enough. You can step into a place of power and power aligned with grace right now in this moment by simply just choosing to be present and to be more accountable for with the energy you're bringing to the room, the energy you're bringing to every conversation, the choices you're making in the grocery store, the choices that you're making how to spend your free time. These all matter. These little steps matter immensely. And the more of us that choose to really show up and take those steps, the more benefit it is for the earth as well. So I think that kind of wraps it up for me, and I'm pretty sure I have to actually get on with another phone call. But I see a lot of your guys' faces here, and that's lovely and warm and encouraging, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you tuning in on this topic because it's really, really important. And I would just remind you, it's like if you're feeling helpless, if you're feeling anxious, then just take a few moments out for yourself. Lay on the floor, put your feet up, breathe, step outside, put your hands on the ground, be in nature. A lot of the distress that we're feeling is our own collective distress and conscious and unconscious acknowledgement of what we're contributing or how we're depleting our own resources. And it's distressing to us. It's like when you keep finding yourself in a self-sabotaging behavior, or you keep finding yourself in this destructive relationship dynamic, it's distressing, but you don't know what to do about it. It's like, I know I don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know what else to do, right? It's frustrating. It's that point of like helplessness where in that moment, it's good to reach out to help, and it's good to acknowledge that you have this bigger resource all around you, within you, all the time. I call it, for me, it's the Gaian intelligence. It's deep source presence. Whatever it is for you, it could be the spaghetti monster or your cat's butthole. It really doesn't matter if it lets you feel connected to life and yourself in a deeper, more meaningful way, right? As my cat gets up and stretches and turns to show me his, yeah. That's how connected we are. Oh, yeah. Gotta bring a little bit of humor to it and just a little tiny bit of toilet talk because, hey, it's part of the fertilizer. It's part of being human, and that's okay too. If you find yourself being too serious, take a moment, take a time out and laugh at yourself, right? Laugh at your fear, laugh at your concerns, laugh at your humanity, laugh at yourself. It's okay. I promise you won't fall apart. You won't die. I mean, you might fall apart a little bit, but you won't die from laughing at yourself. You'll probably actually feel a little better. Laugh at the absurdity of your circumstances, and this is why I do this playfully conscious process with people, and I'll pop that link up here for you. This is where you can find me if you resonate with what I'm saying, or you want personal support on your journey of healing through trauma, cleaning up your own familial social adaptations, coming into a more empowered state with yourself and what you're bringing into the world. This is what I do, and I do it through what I call a playfully conscious process, which is just allowing yourself to be with whatever your internality, your body is offering you, whatever your environment, your reality, your relationships is offering you, in a state of curiosity with as little judgment as possible, learning discernment, learning how to engage. I just don't feel playful. You know what, love? You don't have to feel playful to want to play. It's a state of engagement, really and truly. It really is. When we experience things that so like divide us from our state of organic innocence, it's hard to have that natural joy respond. So for all these spiritual people who are telling you just to feel joy when you're not in resonance, when you're not in a joyful state, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Nope, it's not going to work. Choose to be with what is happening. Choose to listen to the rain, to dance in the rain when it's raining. Not to be like, if I just focus on the sky through these tree branches right here, I know the sun will come out. I can tell. I can do it. I can push it into happening. It's like, it's too much It's too much effort. That's too much effort, and it's effort in the wrong direction. Take your effort and make it internal. Take your effort and allow it to be kind and curious and loving. Annie says she wants to get off the couch. Great, love. Get off the couch. Get up off the couch right now. Don't even wait for me to stop running my mouth. Get off the couch and walk to your front door and have a look at the outside world. And know that you're a part of it and it's a part of you. And we'll start with that, and with a breath, and with a welcoming of life, and with the understanding that everything that you've done that is in opposition of that right now, you have done in service and protection of your trauma. And it doesn't need your service and protection anymore. It needs your love and care and attention. And that will help the planet. That will help you. That will help all of us. The rain's already passing. Yes, organic innocence. Love that. I love it too. And it's true, because underneath all of our nonsense and shit and bad habits and adaptations and crazy stuff that we do, we are organically innocent. We are inherently good. Inherently good. Not the masks and the games we play to be good boys and girls. Inherent goodness. And you feel that when you go out in nature. Like, she may be chaotic and destructive and violent at times, but she's also inherently good, because it's where life comes from. We come from nature, and we're a part of her, and she comes from us, and that is inherently good, and it deserves to be cared for and protected, both in here, down here in my lap. You see my little. See, I gotta look out for him and care for him and protect him too. Can you hear him? There he is. Oh, there he is. Oh, sweet baby. Yeah. Yep. Talk about innocence. This right here. This is like my little puddle of innocence. He doesn't have a malevolent bone in his body. And that's not true for all people, but there is goodness in all of us. I guarantee it. And the more all of us who have the capacity and the desire to cultivate that can do so and spread that in the world, the better place the better place this world will be. I love you guys. Thanks for joining my ramblings. Good to see you too. Must run as well. I think I have somebody I need to get with right now in this moment. But can you hear the rain? And the big ass truck just rolling through my neighborhood in that moment. It's a combination, eh? Gotta love it and work with it all. Bye guys. Love you.